Hey everyone, it's Pepe God and Alan Howick, Decentraland citizens
Howdy.
since 2021. I think that's what we agreed upon last time. Need to check our badges for that. But
Yes, 2021. Yeah.
Metaverse Fashion Week for 2025, day 3, just came to an end. And it's April 11th, 2025. You know, the experience was pretty cool, or it's been pretty cool so far. I think definitely an improvement from what we've seen in the past, although maybe not some of the big brands that we experienced before, like we had DKNY and Tommy Hilfiger. There was Vogue doing deployments into Decentraland, that sort of thing. Whereas this year, I mean, the brands that I've seen are just like some Web3 brands and not really any brands that I recognize necessarily, but that's okay. I think that that's just the general state of the Web3 metaverse right now. You know, when you see big brands doing stuff, they're in Fortnite or Roblox or something like that, because that's where the user base is. But you know, we still have faith, I think, in the Web3 style metaverse and Decentraland in general. So we wanted to make this video to just chat about our experience, what the improvements are, what we think is coming next, and, you know, maybe some questions about better understanding how things are structured right now and how we got to this point. But the new client, you know, it's been out for 6 months or something like that. And it's good in general. It's a lot better than it was in the web experience. Like, I think movement and what the type of lag that you get is not nearly what it once was. Sometimes, you know, it leaves a little bit to be desired still in terms of, you know, just performance and what it's doing to your rig and that sort of thing. But in general, it's pretty good. Right now, I'm showing off the new camera tool, and we're standing in front of this new lighting system that's like a dynamic light that Decentraland has implemented. So, yeah, I think it looks good, right?
It looks good, yeah. I do like, graphically, I think everything looks really nice. I like the colors. I like how everything is working right now. Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing that we did notice about the dynamic lighting is it doesn't seem to actually have any sort of illumination or exposure on your avatar or the objects that are getting the dynamic lighting on it. It just casts a shadow, other than, you know, what was always from the sun or the moon in Decentraland. So, I mean, it's still a cool improvement, but I don't think it's like true lighting in a sense. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we'll
it's
see how it
halfway
goes.
there, you know? It looks cool, though.
And I think it's something that's only available to the Foundation at this event right now. It's not something that you can implement yourself in your scenes. But yeah, we had the fashion runways, the community runways. These all worked relatively well. I think we noticed delays on where streams were at, or just general delays between users, probably depending on where they're located and latency in the world. But sometimes it was like, you know, 5 or even 10 seconds different, or, you know, an avatar wouldn't be exactly at the location where it would be in somebody else's screen. And I checked that locally on another computer, as well as we've probably seen it a few times amongst our avatars, or, you know, emotes wouldn't be playing across both users. But again, it's still better than it was in the web browser experience. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's, you know, the badges have been fun. I've found myself clicking on every new profile that I can find to try, like you put me onto that, but to try to get my social butterfly badge. And I think it's fun. That's like, this added like experience aspect in Decentraland is really helpful. I mean, it's not a true experience bar where you level up, but your badges can level up, and whether that does something in the future or whether it's just to show off, it's still, I find myself, you know, looking into it. It's kind of like replaced POAPs to some extent, or popes, however people say it, but I like them.
It is at least something to do, some task that that shows some sort of reward.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
sometimes it feels like there's a lack of that in Decentraland at the moment, but I almost want to take a second. You can cut this out if you want. It's all right. The first things first stuff. I did want to point out quickly. We both really like Decentraland, and everything the stuff we talk about here are not complaints at all. I think things are going really well. Um, just wanted to point that out. These are observations. I think we both understand this is a very complex system, and there's a lot to work out, and they are working through it. The Decentraland team, little by little, and there's improvements every day. Every upgrade is a success, I find, and makes things a little bit better. I also want to, shout out to the Decentraland team that is very receptive to feedback and in the Discord and whatnot. So keep it up. So yeah, everything. We're gonna start with the good stuff. There's some stuff that needs work on, but we'll talk about that a little later. So,
yeah, for sure.
yeah.
No, I think that's good to clarify. I think most people watching this probably understand that for the most part, but
For sure.
it's yeah. I'm still of the opinion where we're at. For Web3 metaverses, Decentraland I still think is the best one, and it's the only persistent world metaverse still. And the only other thing that I could think of that's really like that, and I haven't even had too much experience with it, I have tested with it just to understand where people were coming from in the past, is Second Life, which isn't Web3. The concept of metaverse wasn't really something common that people talked about, but that's the only other persistent world that I can think of where you can own land and deploy things on your land and all of these different aspects of economics. But yeah, it wasn't Web3 and it wasn't permissionless, so that's something that's unique about Decentraland. The other Web3 metaverse projects like Sandbox. Let's start heading over to
Sure.
a new deployment that Alan and I made. So we're gonna start sprinting here along the road just to show how cool it is. Oh, and I lost you when we were exiting the scene, but you're back on the road. You're back on the road. So.
Yeah.
It's nighttime. We're running along basically what is the edge of the map here. You'll see when we get to one side that there's a beach. I don't think we had chatted about that before, but lost track of what I was talking about. We were saying Sandbox as another Web3 metaverse is, it's got more stuff that is unique specifically to Sandbox. I think it's more focused on gamification of things and like combat and just really playing games. And Decentraland is more focused on social aspects and events and community things, but the gamification's still there. But yet Sandbox does not have a persistent open world. They do sell land, but it's kind of like for no reason because there's not even, a general map area. And the other Web3 metaverse projects are, have their own niche focuses, but they aren't a persistent open world either. So, this entire map that we can look at here is unique to Decentraland. So, yeah.
I said it before, I'm Decentraland or bust, man.
Yeah. And I saw an interview recently with Yemel, who's a co-founder of Decentraland, and I don't think I fully knew his entire history, but he took a step back from Decentraland for a little while, maybe even a few years, and then kind of with this new pursuit of the client and updates and everything, he hopped back into the role as the head of the Decentraland Foundation, which seems like basically they are going to bring Decentraland into a position where it can flourish in the future. Because I think originally, it was like, oh, Decentraland's going to be a DAO. It's a decentralized autonomous organization, and everybody's going to build on top of it, and it's going to be easy. But then as time went on, we realized it's like, actually, everybody's, code and development is breaking other aspects of Decentraland, and it's not meshing at all. So my understanding is that the foundation has come back in and kind of taken the reins on things to really get Decentraland to a spot over the next few years where it can have a future and there is a solid foundation from the foundation for others to build on going forward. Because I think the DAO thing might have been a little bit too early for a project like Decentraland, anyways. I mean, I don't really know of a lot of successful DAOs in general. I'm sure there's some, but I think it depends on how much control they truly have over whatever the project is that they're pursuing.
Hmm. Yeah, I would just say, every ship seems to need a captain, even if the captain's a jerk or a great guy and an incompetent captain. But so
That's not Yemel, just to be clear. I don't think he's I don't think
exactly,
he's
no,
a
that's not what
jerk.
I was
Or...
trying to say. It seems like, but yeah, I mean, having a singular direction for the time being is probably a good idea. I
I think so too.
no, it isn't,
Yeah,
yeah.
you have to basically. Oh, we're
Hmm.
passing a Rubet deployment, which I think is old and built on SDK 6. It showed up, it just like popped up out of the blue. It wasn't loading in the distance, but I think that might be an SDK 6 problem.
Well,
Um,
funny enough, I just ran on the land and it didn't say SDK 6,
oh,
so
okay, maybe not, but
yeah,
that is
it
a
may.
problem in general. See, it's disappeared as we exited. I think some of
Hmm.
the LOD or loading distance um, of deployments aren't really functioning properly. But that's something that's gradually being improved, and I don't know. Seems like every week almost we're getting a new update that fixes things, and sometimes it breaks a few additional things. But um, overall,
Hmm.
it's like quick iterations and improvements happening to Decentraland quite frequently. And you can see here. I mean, I don't know
Totally.
in real world distance how far we're running, but it's like a kilometer plus we've run across the edge of the map here. And we've
Yeah,
looked
yeah.
across the beach. It looks cool. I mean, it's not really functional for anything right now, but it is nice for the most part, I think. We've arrived
Oh,
at the new
there we
deployment
go.
that we put here, which, um, was basically just a little beach lookout because Alan owns some beachfront property here. Um, and yeah, it looks nice. Maybe in the future it'll be something like more. We've been discussing a few times more gamification aspects within Decentraland that are not user generated. It's more of like an overall Genesis City deployment, and the first aspect of that is badges, but I think that can even be pushed further with like I don't know, fishing, where you could fish up something important like a unique wearable, and it was like a really small chance or between certain hours or something like that. I don't know. There's lots of different gamification aspects that I can think of. We might save those for a future video, but yeah, it's cool here to arrive at the
Okay,
water's
here
edge,
we
and I'm
go.
gonna shoot my golf ball into the distance.
Yeah.
Yeah, name another
Uh,
metaverse where you're driving into the ocean. But we set up this scene really quickly the other day just to show like what type of things you can do with the new creator hub. So we made some beers here, and you can pick them up and hold them in your hand. So we're drinking our virtual beers, and we made our little barbecue here. And yeah, overall, it was like fairly straightforward to accomplish this. I think something that we still don't have perfect in Decentraland is sitting, and everybody wants to have their avatars sit. But you can kind of makeshift it by getting an emote that is sitting, and then getting chairs, and you can sit in our chairs. So yeah, I think we look
this
cool
isn't too
sitting on
bad.
our chairs. Yeah, but yeah, well, what else did we want to
Hmm.
touch on? I mean, the Creator Hub, again, that's what we made
Hmm.
this in, entirely in the Creator Hub. We found models in various places online. It was easy to bring them in, make functionality like that beer being in our hand, or, um, clicking the rope to climb to the top of the post, or there's lots of things that seem fairly straightforward that in the past, pre-Creator Hub and pre-client days, you'd need to know like the SDK code and you'd need to learn basics of TypeScript and all these things. And for some people that's great, but for others it's unrealistic that want to create. And I think there's two types of people in Decentraland: the like social side that might want to do events or just have fun or participate or like wearables, and then there's the creators, and some some do both, and I'd hope that most do both, but you don't have to create to be in Decentraland, although it is a big part of the draw in general. You've got a
Sure.
chance to mess with the Creator Hub a little bit. Do you think that do you like it?
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't used the new Creator Hub a lot yet, but I already know it's way better than the previous in-world builder that with the web version. And I did play around with that a lot. So I am looking forward to playing around with the new Creator Hub. I think it's, I don't know, 10 times more powerful possibly. So huge upgrade for sure.
Yeah, and I've learned a lot over time just being like a hobbyist 3D modeler and done it a little bit professionally too, but I'm definitely not like a professional 3D modeler, or I wouldn't consider myself that in terms of a career, but
Hmm.
um, I've learned to kind of through the internet be able to access any 3D models that I really want. And there's a bunch of sites that do this or platforms that do this. I mean, you can find so many options for models, and then if you just know like basics of Blender, you can pretty much, you know, do whatever you want or get whatever you want on your scene, and then these simple interactions are great. But I think that something in the future, and we're not too far from implementing, is some form of AI integration into the Creator Hub where you can make 3D models that would be game ready. Because a lot of the AI 3D model generation platforms, it will be something that, in terms of a online experience and all these different user generated scenes, you do need to be cognizant of how many triangles, what's the size of the textures, what's the general size of the files, and that sort of thing. So I'm kind of privy to that just with my experience creating for different metaverses, but um, I don't think we're too far from AI being able to create
Hmm.
game ready assets that people can describe from text, or they can provide images with text integration. Like if that was integrated into Creator Hub, it would open up a lot more for people that aren't completely privy to 3D modeling to do whatever they wanted in their scenes.
Yeah, get ready, world. AI is coming apparently, and it's coming fast. One quick thing about this, I've noticed that my understanding is that the Creator Hub, when you're building a scene, there's no triangle limit anymore. I think that, and to me, that's a huge thing. I understand it's probably performance issues if you have too many triangles on your scene. It's probably a fine line, but I felt that the old in-world builder that I used to use was so limiting. There's so few triangles, and I'm not as experienced with this stuff as you. So using the assets within the system were just brutal. So to me, that's a huge thing. Be able to make a much more intricate scene with more triangles more easily in Creator Hub is all just awesome news, and it's working great. So
Yeah, that's definitely a benefit. Um, so yeah, I feel like there was a decent amount of users at Metaverse Fashion Week. I
hmm
saw between 100 and 200 on the scene at some times, and it all generally loaded well. There wasn't a ton of lag on my end, anyways. Although, like I mentioned
yeah.
before, some of the avatars, I don't think their positions or what they were doing exactly synced up for timing. But that's just a general problem with internet and multiplayer games, because in Decentraland we're not segregating by region. We're just having people from Germany and Spain and Asia and North America all
Hmm.
on the same server, and when you play World of Warcraft, which is an MMO that has large amounts of players, or any action games, but this isn't necessarily, needing to have the same amount of low latency as an action game for the time being anyways, but you do need to be on a server. They even split it like US West and US East. So if you were on the west coast of North America, you'd play US West. If you're on the east, you'd play US East. For the most part, you can play across those servers. Like if I was on the west coast, I could play on the east and it wouldn't be too much latency. But for me to play on a server in Europe wouldn't be a great experience in terms of the latency. So that's not something unique to Decentraland. That's a restriction of, I guess, our current technology on the internet. And I don't know a ton about that, but that's just how it is for now.
Well, I think we've noticed that the latency between, let's say, your and my avatar in world is less than a second. Is that fair to say? Like,
yeah, I mean,
a fraction of a second.
Yeah, sometimes we almost have zero latency, you and I, when we would be doing something.
Which is pretty interesting.
But yeah, it's a work in progress.
I think it went the festival for the first 2 or 3 days here have gone pretty darn smoothly overall. I think I feel compelled to say it. I think everything's still a little bit buggy, but I think that's to be expected. I mean, it doesn't like, oh gosh, it doesn't irritate me. I mean, these are kinks that have to be worked out, and that's cool. But everything basically worked pretty darn well.
Yeah.
Like there was the wearable claims were delayed. Again, this is sort of old news with Decentraland, but they got them working. That's cool. I do think that the problems that come up, Decentraland does try to fix them fairly quickly and addresses them and takes them all seriously. So that's nice to see. But I didn't have any connection issues really with the festival. Again, very minor ones here and there, but I think it all worked fairly smoothly. So
yeah,
congrats on everyone involved with that who set it up and participated and are there. Well done.
Definitely. So, I think both you and I are similar in a sense that, I mean, the fashion aspect of just life isn't something that we're super interested in, although I think we do like presenting our avatars in certain ways, and fashion in the metaverse could mean more than just clothing. It's like your overall appearance, which could be an inanimate object that has like humanoid features all of a sudden, or it could just mean a form of clothing or something crazy that could never exist in real life. So that part is fun. I'm not saying we don't like that, but fashion is a little bit foreign to us in general, because I think you and I just wear like black t-shirt every day, the same thing.
I'm a black t-shirt and jeans person.
Me too.
I do.
Yeah.
So, but it's fun to that's what this Decentraland's for. You can do whatever you want in here. This is just one of many aspects, I think, that you could, one of many things that you can do in Decentraland. Fashion is one aspect of everything. So good on everyone. I'm glad people enjoy it. I enjoy it. It's fun. I see myself doing other things in the future that don't revolve around fashion, but that's another story. So yeah.
So I think we did have some questions or inquiries into things that we would like to know about Decentraland to understand how the future's shaping up and what type of time frames that we're on to get this thing like profitable, I guess, for the foundation or for the DAO or however it's going to be managed going forward. But what was there any other points before we got into those that you wanted to touch on, just about what we've noticed since we made our last video about the new client?
It's working better than the last time we did a video.
Oh, definitely. Way less crashes. That's the thing that I like the most. It's like there was quite a few crashes in the past where I would frequently just have to restart the client, and it depended what other programs I was running, and I have a pretty beast computer, so it didn't seem like it was something on my end. But now it's like way less. It happens very infrequently for me.
I don't have a beast computer, and I can say I don't really have any, let's say, performance issues with the platform ever really. So I've got a pretty mid-range older computer, and it handles it without any problems. Knock on wood. So yeah, I mean, there's so many things to talk about. There's so many aspects. There's so many different issues that need to be addressed, but I think that they will be addressed. So it's just a matter of sort of waiting rather than screaming about these things.
I
But
I know one thing that we had chatted about before that you had come up with was, and I think it's important too, but it was that, during Fashion Week or just before, there was a bit of a marketing push for the first time for Decentraland. There was Brave browser ads and
mhm,
YouTube ads. I didn't see the YouTube ones, but maybe a few other ad campaigns. I'm not sure, but um, something about that is getting new users in, and I think most people in crypto will have heard of Decentraland before, but it's either not of interest to them, or they just hadn't tried it yet, or they did try it and then they kind of thought that it fell off and
mhm,
there wasn't any further improvements because of all the issues in the web browser version. But um, when new users or returning users that haven't been in for a long time come into Decentraland, the first thing that they see is Genesis Plaza and you know
mhm.
the the kind of starting area with the platform that has a diving board and you jump in to down below, and it looks a lot nicer in the new client, but we noticed it still uses the old tree models from when we had to get
Mhm.
like super low poly and no textures and all that sort of stuff, and it hasn't really been improved, and it's just kind of confusing. And I think that that's a bit of a struggle to. Maybe the marketing efforts are a bit of a test to see what works and that sort of thing. But
Mhm.
it's tough to, as a new user, to come in. And I know there's also like a starting quest, or I think the first time that people use the client, it's supposed to prompt them to have like a little quest
Mhm.
experience that's not in Genesis City at all. It's like a segregated world. But I've tried that on a few different devices. It doesn't always even work. And even that, I feel like once they're done it, they'll jump into Genesis Plaza, and the boards
Mhm.
don't really work exactly in terms of player count or top
Yeah.
rated, and it's like some of the stuff's calculating things from the web browser version still in terms of users on a scene, or what's
Mhm.
favorited and things like that. Was there something else about that you thought was important to
Well,
talk about?
maybe just overall, I feel like the where you spawn into Decentraland. Maybe I'm not saying it needs to be totally redone, but it maybe needs a paint job, and just a little tidying up. The boards are a bit, um, yeah, they're not totally accurate. There are events on the upcoming events things that aren't really events. I think that are old. I don't know. And when you go to those scenes, like, oh, this thing's happening right now. You go and it's an empty, broken SDK6 scene. I feel like those really need to be cleared up. I'd hate to pop into the world for the first time and bounce around a few broken SDK6 scenes and go, what the heck's going on? I That's one thing I'd say. I just it maybe at some point when there's when Decentraland can take a bit of a breath. I do think it should be upgraded. Let's just say. I mean, and when people bounce in there, it should be really clear what's going on, and yeah. So that's
May-
we could go on and on probably, but
Maybe it'll take a
that's how
community
I'd summarize
member
it.
with a little redesign effort to you know get it in world. Or maybe we just
Yeah,
need to bring it
maybe.
up. I don't think that we've ever brought it up, but there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
I mean, that brings us to just better understanding of where Decentraland's leadership is at, because I know Yemel, I know
Hmm.
Nico, we know the socials team, and um, I'm sure there's other people behind the scenes, but we're not really sure who they are or how many of them there are. There's the Discord
Yeah.
mods, and everybody's really helpful and really seems to care about improving the future of Decentraland. And I've had experiences where I'm creating or just whatever, where I'll report things, and they're always getting back to me, putting it in the queue to be corrected if it's a bug in the future, and fixing all that sort of stuff. But it would be nice to know who's all on the team, how many members there are. This is for Decentraland Foundation, which is pretty much, leading everything that
Hmm.
is going on right now for the future. And I mean, dare I say how much they're being compensated and how much runway the
Yeah.
foundation has to continue this improvements, because it is a little bit hard, especially with the user counts that are in world these days, to understand how the platform could be profitable,
Hmm.
especially with the structure of the creators getting majority of revenue from like wearables or
Hmm.
land resales or anything that is going to derive revenue going forward. I don't even know if that goes to the foundation or if that's going to the DAO and that's just on hold currently. I mean, maybe I need to do, or maybe we need to do more research to
It's,
understand where that is, but it's just not clear, to
mhm.
be honest.
It's not clear, and I mean, there's a lot to say here. I mean, obviously, what we're talking about is no disrespect whatsoever to any of the team members or anyone involved with the Decentraland. It's more of a curiosity thing, and kind of I kind of consider myself to some degree, a casual user of Decentraland, like, but a consistent one. And after all these years, I still, when I start hearing DAO and Foundation and this, I just start getting, it's like blurry. Like, I don't know who's doing what exactly, or what can the Foundation tell this person. I just, it's sort of blurry. The argument can be made that I don't need to know. Just like the ship's running, just, do your thing. But I do feel it'd be nice to sort of have some sort of chart or like a clear, this is what's going on, and this is who runs what, and this is who's doing this, and I don't think I would have a single objection to any of it. I'm just curious. So do I have to know this? No, but I think it would kind of calm the nerves a little bit, and let me, fully 100% dive into Decentraland. And so I guess that's what I'd say. And you're right. Like, everyone's been very open and uh, to feedback and whatnot. I do feel like if I had a serious issue in Decentraland with anything, that I could reach out and I would have a response almost immediately. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
a good thing. So yeah, it would be nice to know, just somebody put a video together explaining the weird chart of how this is working for me, please. Make it under 3 minutes, and I would love it. I will continue to try to research more in the future, though, I guess.
Yeah,
So
so
yeah.
I mean, was there anything else that we wanted to touch base on this video? I think that we,
Ooh.
wrap. I know we have a long list of different things. We want to keep the videos digestible to some extent, but
Yeah.
any important ones? I
I
mean, we loved Fashion Week. We think that it's going the right direction. There's lots of improvements. You were mentioning, oh, there's always an update. Almost every other time that we're logging in, it's an update. But that's good. That means that they're
yeah.
improving things, fixing bugs, making changes.
Oh man, the reality is, we could sit here and talk probably for 2 hours straight on all these things. I mean, we this is all off the cuff. We kind of chat about what we were going to chat about, but I I know you're trying to wrap things up. I mean, should we?
Yeah, give
I
us one. Give us one or two more that
um
you thought were
I
important.
the SDK 6 buildings in Decentraland. I don't know. For me, this is a big issue. Aesthetically, I don't know what the plan is. So this also involves the Web3 version. Sorry, the web browser version, let's say. What is the plan there? Should people be notified? Are we going to leave these buildings up? What's the thoughts? Now, the reason I bring it up is, unfortunately, there are a lot of broken buildings that you can just run right through. They're scattered all over the place, old, terrible looking galleries, etc. Now, I'll stop myself and say, Decentraland, should somebody be able to buy a piece of land, put whatever they want on it, and just walk away? I mean, you can make that argument. Um, so I don't know. I think Decentraland would look cleaner, nicer, more organized. I don't know if all the SDK 6 buildings or and previous ones were either automatically updated or something.
Okay.
I don't know.
So
Um, I don't know how to address that, but I th- and if there are plans, these people that own the land should be notified immediately, or what's the plan there? I guess I don't know.
This is just our opinion, but I agree. I mean, I think that with this whole changeover, I get that people thought that they would be, um, deploying potentially into Decentraland and then having it
Mm,
there forever, and it would be on the blockchain in this first 3D metaverse or one of the leaders in the Web3 metaverse. But with all the changes that have happened, I do think it would be nice to have basically a wipe of lands that
mm-hmm.
are SDK6. Um, Maybe people could apply to maintain it if they wanted, so if they were still around, it would be there. I get why people wouldn't want that or would be against that, but I think it would be cool to
Yeah.
do something like that one time with a warning and just be cognizant in the future that that's not something that happens again or only in, extreme situations where there's been some massive change that would, um,
Mm.
you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's I think we're on the same page on that one.
It is a tough one because let's say there's an SDK scene that's actually a piece of art, or it's something we're like, okay, no, this is kind of legit. This is cool. It can stay, but this janky old building that you can't get in because the doors are broken. Should that go? I don't know how you make those calls. Something has to be done. I won't say who, but somebody else had the idea. I won't say just in case they don't want to get involved. But the idea of possibly archiving, giving some sort of date, like, hey, at this on this date we're going to archive all the SDK 16s that are remaining that we haven't heard from. They'll be saved somehow and and then do some kind of a wipe.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a talk of which ones. Maybe there's some that don't deserve to be wiped for various reasons, or left as is. Maybe they've earned it. I don't know, but I think something has to be done to get rid of the ugliest of the ugly buildings and scenes that are really not working at all, and haven't been touched in, let's say, multiple years or whatnot. So
Yeah. Yep.
that's
I agree. So
that a plan needs to be put together, and people need as much time as possible to adjust to the plan, I think.
yeah.
So
And yeah, we'll end with an inquiry to ourselves, but I do think the most important thing going forward for like user retention and improving the experience is not quite necessarily improving the creator experience right now. I feel like it might be improving, like I mentioned before, the gamification of Decentraland in general. So Genesis City itself having a form of gamification, whether it's getting more badges or having a level specifically for your character or a weekly contest of some sort, a quest system that's different than these single player experiences where you go and do a crossword or veggie slice or count cats
mm,
in games. And some of those games are, well done. They're like polished for the most part, but it's just
they are.
a
Yeah.
little bit redundant to have to do those daily because it's not any form of interaction other than teleporting to the location and quickly doing the game. Something that I thought
Hmm.
would be a good option would be a form of delivery quest, even though it's not that interesting necessarily. It would at least get you to walk from point A to point B, disable teleporting just for that quest duration. So once you pick up a specific item from one spot and walk it to another spot, that would be done. And I think that should be managed by the foundation.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because yeah, just with user generated stuff, I mean, I think that we're not quite there yet to make like those gamification things going on. I mean, we had
Hmm.
Wondermine in the past that everybody loved. Everybody would hang out at Wondermine and click on a rock every 20 seconds or 40 seconds to gradually
Yeah.
level up, and then they could collect things and unlock wearables. And I think that was generally fun, or people enjoyed it, especially the progression aspect. I mean, you're still on the leaderboard there, right? But it doesn't even work in the new client. So,
Yeah, this is, I mean, gosh, I'm gonna say it. This was my question. Can we save Wondermine somehow? Come on. Can we just make it work? What's going on? It'd be easy. The Decentraland does need, I think, a place to hang out, a place where there's some kind of, progressive game that like as you put it, that is sort of fun. And it was fun. So the quest games are great. I think there needs to be a bit more variety or something, or some other things to do. The things you were suggesting, I think, are awesome ideas. Um, but yeah, let's save Wondermine somehow.
yeah,
Get it going again.
that would be cool.
I got my coins still, and all my all
Maybe
my
it needs to
gems.
be something that's similar, but I don't know if the team for that is still around or if they'd be willing to make improvements or revamp it without some form of grant, because that was kind of a
Yeah.
lot of the creators that were originally in Decentraland had gotten significant sized grants to pursue some of these things from the DAO, and that's, I think, from my understanding, is still on hold. Neither of us really
Hmm.
participate in that too much in terms of like
No.
voting or monitoring the DAO, that sort of thing. I mean, yeah. So
I,
eh,
I, I poke in there once in a while, but it's kind of I won't. That's a whole other story too. Or like I don't know. There's weird stuff going on in there. It just seems weird. Weird's a vague term, but not harmful, but just weird stuff.
yeah, sure. So
Like they're just voting on nonsense at times. Like come on. Like
yeah,
so I don't venture in there too often. But
a lot of
yeah,
infighting as well.
it's yeah. A quick note on that. There does seem to be weird grudges and stuff. I don't know. We don't really get involved with this stuff, but I wish everyone would just you know try to chill and work together.
Yeah, chill out a little
Not
bit.
not that it's a big problem. Like 99% of everything goes smoothly and it's great. But let's stay positive. It's a lot of work to do still, I think.
Yeah.
You know,
So we titled this video, "Is Decentraland Cookin' or Cooked?" which we thought was funny. But let's, to wrap things up. What's your answer
hmm
with a brief explanation?
boy, it's still cooking. Got to be careful though. Keep an eye on it.
Yeah,
Things are getting better all the time. Oh, I gotta say it. Like the better things get, the less people are there. Like what's going on?
yeah. It does feel
Oh,
like a
not
dwindling
not not to
population
leave
a
it on
little
that
bit.
note. Yeah. That's it. Oh,
For me,
yeah.
I
It
wonder how
doesn't make
or
sense.
why sometimes, because as kind of like a Web3 enthusiast and like this whole concept of the metaverse, and on that interview that I mentioned before, Yemel had talked about um, how much he loved Ready Player One, and so do I, and that's like
Hmm.
my vision for the future. Less dystopian in the real world, maybe, but in terms of what could be possible is like this amazing world where anything's possible and you can make anything and you can own part of it, and it's got its own economy with all these things. Like, that's my vision for
Hmm.
the future of Decentraland. And I'm going to say my answer is that Decentraland's cooking for sure, and I don't think they're cooked yet. But it does feel a little bit like we're fighting against the clock of where funding is from
Hmm.
the original raise and land sale and mana and that sort of thing. Um,
Hmm.
and I am doing everything I can and what I want to you know help us continue on that path to what we want it to be for the future. So I think we'll end it on that
Hmm.
note. We both think
Sure.
that Decentraland is still the best Web3 metaverse, and it's making progress,
Totally.
and we're cooking, and we're always participating and doing what we can to make it what we want it to be. So thanks everyone for listening, and we'll make more videos in the future if that's what people like to see. And I think it's good for us to get on a video and chat about this stuff too, because it puts all our thoughts in a row. So
Yeah. Thanks for listening, and keep building. Have fun out there.
see you guys.
Later.